Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Deirdre. Deirdre, what kind of dancer would you say that you are?
I guess I would call myself a commercial dancer. So, like I do a bunch of different styles, like jazz, hip hop, like a little bit of Latin styles, but I'm trained in like contemporary and modern and ballet and all that stuff too. Tap.
Very cool. So, if someone is listening, they don't know the difference between a commercial dancer and a Broadway dancer or something like that. How would you describe that to somebody?
Yeah, I guess I would consider a commercial dancer someone working usually like in TV and film and artist kind of work. And yeah, I guess in terms of style, it's like a broad range of things, but it's not anything too crazy technical or too crazy on the hip hop side of things, I would say.
Very, very cool. And so you're from Canada.
Yes.
Oh am I? Woo woo, Canada. And we both have green cards out here, which is really hard to get as an entertainer.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it really is. And then now more than ever, it's even more difficult to get it. So yeah, so thankful to have that.
Yeah. Were you a professional dancer in Canada before you came to the States?
So my I got really lucky. My very first dance job was with Cirque du Soleil. And so I booked that in Canada. It was my first audition, and they moved me to the States. So I've done a little bit of work in Canada after I've moved to the United States, but the majority of my career has been here in the
Your
US.
first audition was Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
You got it. That's amazing.
That's just pure luck at that point. But it was, amazing because I was able to start off over here and build my career here, which you don't usually do. You have to usually build your career in Canada, prove all this stuff. It takes many years, and then you're able to come over.
Right, which is so I've had many people on the podcast that I had no idea did Cirque du Soleil, and it feels like Cirque du Soleil is a great jumping point for a lot of dancers. Like they don't, from what
1000%.
I've listened to, they don't like care about your resume necessarily. Like they really give new dancers a chance, which is really cool.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And also, they're really good about casting internationally. So they will have shows that either tour or things in Las Vegas, usually, but they're not like intimidated to take under their wing international performers, which or artists, which, usually with even big jobs in the United States, they won't hire on someone no matter how talented they are. Cirque has the infrastructure with their lawyers and stuff to do the immigration work for you, which is incredible.
Amazing, yeah, because it's so much work. Uh, so Cirque du Soleil, what did you book on that? Like how what was
Yeah.
like the first thing you did with it?
So the show that I auditioned for specifically was the Chris Angel show that they had. And originally I had booked Love. They had, because also with Cirque, once they've created a role in their shows, they want the exact measurements to fill that role when the person leaves so that they don't have to design new costumes and stuff. So first they were going to put me into a role at Love. And then last minute they switched me over to the Chris Angel show that I had auditioned for initially. And what was cool about that was that I got to be a part of the show's creation process. So that I think was the coolest thing for me was, getting to help build the show from the ground up.
And so what is the creation process like for a new Cirque show as a dancer?
Yeah, so there's a lot of exploration, obviously, that comes into play. We would have like different types of, even beyond dance, like different types of mentors come in and like guide us in different like acting exercises. And, we learned harness aerial work. I learned how to do dolly stilts, which are the four-legged stilts, the ones that like are the animals.
That's so
Um,
cool.
so I got to do that. Yeah, just like training in so many different aspects. We had like mime classes. Our choreographer was Wade Robson, and he's like such a well-versed, choreographer, dancer. So from him, I also got to learn like locking, popping. We did technical stuff. Like we really explored like every type of dance style, and it was just a really cool learning and growth experience.
Cool. So when they start this new show, specifically with the one you were involved in, Wade would do a piece of choreography and then be like, "This isn't working. Let's change this." Or
Sometimes, yeah. And we would go into the room and just like work on character work for days. Like for our show, we were bunnies. And so it was like the dark, twisted bunnies taking over and coming back at the magician was the whole thing. So we got to do like a bunch of stuff with that. And obviously, there's a director in there as well. So we would see what flowed with the director. And also, we had a star of this show, which is not usually the way things are with Cirque. So they also had to like mesh Chris Angel and his style, and so he had his own opinions and things as well. So there were actually a lot of cooks in this kitchen for the show I did.
That's cool though, because it made such a great product. So how did you have like a typical 2-year contract with Cirque?
Yeah, exactly. It was a 2-year contract. And then there was the option to renew. And I decided to try and pursue my dream of moving to Los Angeles to dance here. So I left after I'd finished my contract.
And then that contract, you went internationally or you were in Vegas? Where was that?
Well, we were just in Vegas. We were based there. So I was there for 2 years.
That's nice though, because there's no like travel and their pools are amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I was 18, so I couldn't go do any of the crazy stuff. It was like a perfect jumping off point for me.
I love that. So then you finished your 2-year, is it a residency? Is that the right?
Yeah, residency, yeah.
Yeah. And then you just auditioned for what was next?
So I just moved to Los Angeles, and at first I didn't have my work visa. I still had to spend like 8 months gathering connections in Los Angeles, and even though I couldn't do paid work, I was getting opportunities to like do shoots and stuff where I was able to like build my resume further because the only thing I had was Cirque. So I had to take some time out here first in order to make connections. And then be able to finally work towards getting my visa, my O1 visa to work in the US.
Which is great for dancers who are listening. So you get your first job, you get your green card or whatever work visa you have for that limited time. Once Cirque was over, you were done with how that visa ends the day you decide to walk off.
Exactly that. And their visas, you're exclusive to Cirque. So it's a P1 visa. Whereas afterwards you want an O1 visa, which means that you still have to have like an umbrella company above you, which is usually your agency, but you're free reign to work for multiple employers. And that's the visa I wanted so that I could have multiple opportunities as a dancer.
And it's such a great thing for people to hear too, though, that you spent 8 months doing free work. And a lot of dancers don't realize how much free work, or I guess people in general don't realize how much dancers do free work to build their resume and to have footage and all of the things that you hope would be paid for, but like you also have to pay your dues.
Yeah, for sure. And there is something to be said for, like, I know we always say things against like doing stuff for exposure and stuff, but especially at the beginning, I think you do need to make connections and pay your dues, like you said.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was talking with someone who is a dancer or a teacher at the Playground, which is a very popular place in LA to take classes. And I think that that's a great opportunity for a new, like if you're 18, 17, somewhere in that range, and you need footage, those classes, they give you footage. Like what a great thing, even though it's not like something you can put on your resume, but at least when someone's like, what can you do? You have a video of proof.
Yeah,
a cool video.
It's exactly that. And it's so interesting how things have changed with these classes because obviously, that wasn't the way that it used to be,
No.
and people weren't booking people off of your class footage. But nowadays, that is just as important as, seeing some of the work that you've done on camera. Like if I can see what style you're doing in that class, that's enough to book you for things.
That's one of the things that I love about the dance world in general, though. Like when I was younger auditioning, like I feel like actors have this where they audition for something and they don't know why they didn't get it because they don't see the competition necessarily. But with dance, especially as it dwindles down, you're standing in a room with all the people that you're up against. So you can physically see that this person is a better dancer than you or that they're not a better dancer than you, but they have a different size and shape or a different personality. Like you can be logical with yourself as to why this person got it over you or why you got it over that person.
For sure. And obviously, all those things come into play. It's never just your talent. They're always looking for the exact right measurements, the exact look that's going to fit the project or the artist. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that come into play.
Yeah, there's some things like, and I don't know if it's still this way, but it used to be that like if you were dancing for a pop star and it was a female, you had to be a little shorter than her and like a tiny bit bigger than her. So she looked tall and skinny. And it was like people always thought that dancers had to be so fit, fit, fit. And it was like, it depends on what market you're in because that famous person might just want to be, and it may not even be them because sometimes I think it's their people. They're amazing individuals and then they get a name for themselves, but it's really the people that are around them that are like, oh, you can't talk to this person. It's like, I think they're bored and they want to talk to somebody.
No, 1,000%. That, and it is interesting to see that. I never would have thought about that, I guess, whenever I would see like, especially in particular female artists, but that really is a thing that comes into play, you know, like who makes them look good as on stage.
Right. Or like if you look exactly like that singer, realistically, unless there's a show where they're trying to get everyone to look like them, it's not your thing. You know what I mean? Like,
You're not going to book it. Of course not.
yeah, exactly. So you did Cirque, you did 8 months in Los Angeles of free work, working on that visa. And
Yeah.
then you auditioned for what? What was the next?
I'm trying to think. I don't even remember what my first LA auditions were. I know that I know that I did start with one of the companies that I still work with now. It's called Aqualilies, and that's like a fusion of synchronized swimming and dance. So that was one of my first LA auditions. They were looking for dancers who could swim specifically, and I always grew up with a pool, and I'm really strong in the water, so I was like, this is perfect. And that's one of the first people I started with. And through them, we would do like a lot of events and stuff like that. But we've also done like music videos for artists, TV stuff. Like they've blown up this company.
It's an amazing skill set. Like, okay, so first of all, in Canada, when you were growing up, did you have to take swimming lessons as a part of your gym class? Because I did. I don't know if it was specific to my area.
We didn't get that opportunity. I wish we had done that through school. That's so cool.
Sometimes I think it's just like, I'm like, oh, Canada does this. And I was like, nope, just you had that.
Oh, that's amazing. But I know that Australians are like that because now when we're looking to cast people for Aqualilies, we're always like, oh, we'll look for Australians because they all have to learn how to swim through school.
Yeah, you were basically a lifeguard by the time you graduated high school or towards high school because you had to take it from like fifth grade up. And it was like 6 week sessions. It wasn't like every day. But
still, that's really cool that they provided that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for safety. So you just knew how to swim then. You weren't taking swimming lessons?
Yeah, I mean, I took swimming lessons as well, and I did diving lessons. Like I almost did swim competitively, but I was dancing too much. But that was always like something that I was really enjoyed as a kid growing up. So I ended up training, like once I booked Aqualilies, they trained me to do like the basic synchronized swimming skills, so that I can do their shows and stuff with them. But
so swimmers, in my opinion, have such a strong upper body, right? And dancers have such a strong lower body. Were you a gymnast because of the ability to have upper body strength?
No, and I mean, I did take gymnastics as a kid, like for a couple of years, but I didn't continue with that. So I think that the upper body strength was something that I had to really work on whenever I started training with the swimming. It was building those little muscles, like
I can't even imagine how long you have to hold your breath. Is that a thing too? Because you all have to hold it at the same time.
It's the whole thing. And then you've got adrenaline going, so it makes it even harder. And then these swimmers, because we fuse like the dancers with the like Olympic level synchronized swimmers, and these women are taught not to come up for breath no matter what. Like, so there was one time in a show where one of the swimmers forgot the choreography, and instead of like coming up and like freestyling out of the water, she just held her breath for over a minute. Like they would rather pass out under there than to ruin what's going on in a performance.
What an element of danger.
Yes.
Wow.
There's kicking legs under there. I've been kicked in the face before. We're lifting people. Like there's all sorts of craziness that happens under the water.
Oh my gosh. And are you one of the ones that are like the mermaid people that have the fin on top?
Yeah, we'll do mermaid work too. Like that's usually more like atmosphere kind of thing for events. But yeah, we'll do mermaid work.
Is that hard to swim with like basically a cage around your legs?
It's actually quite buoyant. Like the material that it's made of is kind of light. I mean, it's a different thing to learn the mechanics of it, but it's not as hard as it seems, I don't think.
It feels like belly dancing, but underwater.
Hey, that's actually a good way to think of it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's right, but wow. Okay. So you got to do this amazing thing and you still work for them. You
Yeah.
choreograph for them.
Yeah.
I think a testament to people who, when you find something you like and you love, stay with them. Don't think that there's something better. Don't look. I mean, it's basically like a relationship advice. Don't keep looking for another man. Like once you find something, stick with it.
Yeah, and I think to that same point, like especially in the industry that I'm in with dance out here, there's not usually a ton of consistent work. So even if I was booked doing other things for even a lot of my time, there's always going to be time when you can fill it doing these other side projects, you know? So just having other things that you're able to work on when you do have availability is really incredible.
Yeah, and it's a testament to your work ethic as well, because if a company is staying loyal to you and you're staying loyal to them, it means that you are a good employee, which I think a lot of dancers forget. Like you are an employee. Yes, you're an artist, but you are an employee. So you get your first job either by luck or by talent, 99% of the time. And the rest of them have to do with how people think you behave on set, because you're traveling with these people. People don't want to travel with people that are miserable all the time or curse a lot or are a nightmare. You know, just in general, you have to stay with these people on flights and all this craziness. You want to be a good person.
Yes, and I think that's like in terms of keeping your job and getting other jobs afterwards, I think that's 90% of it. Like someone's energy, because there's a million talented people out there. Like almost every one of these dancers could do what the job is asking of them, but having someone with good energy is, yeah, one of the hugest things that I've learned.
It's crazy. So then after you finished your first round with the swimming,
Yeah.
what who was your first pop star? Because you danced for a lot of pop stars.
I can't even think who the first artist was that I started working with. One of my first ones that I was doing like consistent work with was Gloria Estefan. And so I don't know, I didn't grow up with a lot of Latin music, but like I love her. I have this like thing for Latin music. And so dancing to her music was one of my favorite things. And she had like this massive band, and we would do like I was doing like spot dates with her. It wasn't like too consistent, but we had, you know, like at least a couple shows a month for
And were these in huge theaters with like audiences, like
yeah.
concert stuff?
Yeah, we would do big concerts, but then we would also do like industrial events for like the employees of Target, or you know, like
And what's
um,
an industrial for those who may not know what that is?
my understanding is that it's corporate work. So big corporations will hire entertainment for their employees whenever they have events, or I don't know if it's like staff meeting kind of things, but they'll invest like big money into hiring talent. And sometimes it's just dancers. Like I've done that just as a dancer for things where they would want like a show put on for their employees, you
I've
know.
done with Puff Daddy, the after like party that he does for his dancers. He hires other dancers to entertain the dancers. And I was always like,
That's
it's
amazing.
so weird, but it's also awesome. But it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, okay. But you love it because you love dance. So you like you can appreciate everything that they're doing, but it's also like just a weird like, did you just hire like is to me, it's like if an accountant got another accountant to do their stuff. Like it's just a weird thing.
Yeah, I've definitely never have heard of that before, but that is,
it's, it's fun. Uh,
yeah,
it's just a party, but great, get it. Uh,
totally.
so you did Gloria Estefan, and
Mhm.
then who did you dance with next?
And then I did like a bunch of TV stuff, and I did work with other artists. But my next like big notable thing in my career was I did a world tour with Justin Bieber.
Mhm.
So that was really cool for me. That was my first time doing like a full world tour, and I was still pretty young, like 22 at the
Oh yeah,
time.
that's
So
very young to be.
yeah, so it was very exciting. And you know, my one dream was to tour the world as a dancer. I really wanted to get paid to travel.
And what was that experience like? Because this was when he was in his peak. Not that he's not
Uh,
in his peak still,
yeah.
but like we're talking millions of people in an audience
Oh,
watching, not like hundreds of thousands, not like a theater that has a cap. We're talking fields where it goes until you can't see
yes.
past the last person.
Yes, it was a really wild time, and it was a really crazy time in his life as well. Like there were some cities that we would go to that he couldn't leave the hotel room. Like there were fans, like hundreds, if not thousands of people just outside of the hotel for days on end, like waiting for him to leave. So it was just a really crazy time to watch him. And he was also so young at that time as well. And it was also wild for us because we were also experiencing the fans following us around.
Really?
And
So people, like, you were dancing with him, you know him, you've touched him, come, like.
And I didn't even anticipate that aspect of things with dancing for a big celebrity. I didn't think people, because usually we are just, moving set pieces in the background. But with the rise of social media and everything, they had access to us. So they would, people would be making fan accounts for us and, like I said, like following us in certain cities and not letting us go into shops without getting photos and, breaking barricades and running towards us. Like, it was really
Scary.
Yeah, it was a little scary in some moments, like with them like banging on the buses and like holding on to our buses while we were driving. Like it was really, really crazy.
I mean, like the first few times, I'm sure you're like, yeah, of course I want to give an autograph. And then when they're like, and I'm in your room, you're like, ah.
And yeah, I just don't expect that or never wanted that as a dancer, Like I'm not seeking fame in any kind of way, but we got this second hand little taste of what it was like to experience a bit of fame in that time.
Wow. Crazy. What is like your favorite country that you got to do in that tour?
Oh, I have a couple favorite places I've been. One is Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Like Brazil is just, I love the energy of the people, the food. It's just the culture, and then the natural beauty is just,
What's the
impeccable.
good food?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Like, I love plantains. Like, they're known for meat. Like, they have really incredible, like,
I eat meat. It's okay.
yeah, meat out there. So, yeah, like Brazilian steak houses are really famous.
Okay.
So
I'm
that's
like making a list in my mind of like where to go.
that's what I think about when I think about the food there. And then my other favorite is Cape Town in South Africa. Again, natural beauty was just like off the charts.
My brother used to live there.
Really?
Oh, it's just so random. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, I'm obsessed with there. And that's one of the places I would love to go back to.
And that's the is that the place where there's penguins on the beach?
There are there, yeah.
That's like the smartest penguins in the world. Like
Yeah.
they were like, oh, you can do the cold. I'm gonna go over here.
The beach. Yeah.
Those are my people. Whoever the like, I get those penguins. Very, very cool. I have a few questions that I ask everybody. So feel free to answer these as short or long as you want, whatever brings you joy. Your favorite singer to move to now? Like if you were to teach a class or take a class on your own, who would you want to dance to?
Oh, that is such a good question. Like the first person that comes to mind, and I'm not even a big fan of them to listen to, but like in terms of what it makes me feel to move, I actually really like Billie Eilish. Like I think her stuff really, I don't know, I connect with it and I really like moving to her music. Like when I just play it, it automatically makes me like vibe in my house. So
she's got great rhythms, yeah, and a great voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite music video of all time?
Oh my gosh, these are amazing. One of my favorites is, and I can't even think of the name of the artist, so this might be an awful reference, but I think it's called OK Go, and they're on the treadmills.
Oh yeah.
It was the first time I had seen anything like that, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. So that's one of my favorite music videos.
I remember that.
There's also, I'll say one more, and again, I'm not going to remember the artist, which is awful, but it's a French artist, and he did an entire thing where they were half as men and half as women. He's like a French rapper singer, and the choreography is really cool, and the way that they shot it is really cool, and that's one of my like favorite ones. Oh, can I say one more?
Yeah, you can.
Weapon of Choice. That's another one of my favorites.
I remember all of these. I also don't remember the artist of that, but I totally remember that male-female dance in the treadmill. I remember these. People who are listening, feel free to message one of us and be like, it was this artist. Deirdre, what is your Instagram in case someone wants to tell you what it is?
My Instagram is Deirdre Barnes, DEIRDRE, and then BARNES.
And I'm going to put all this in the link. So if anybody is interested, just go look and then you can check out her fan pages, which she might still have out there from Bieber days. Who knows? What is your favorite after show food to eat on?
Ooh. I mean, what's sad is that they often provide you with really awful after show food. Like you
You
get really good
deserve
catering.
it. You work so
Yeah, it's
hard.
so sad. They give us such good catering before shows, but then after show food would always be like fast food, like McDonald's or, things like that. So I would often eat really awful, but what I would do, which is really gross, is I would make like banana Nutella toasts in the tour bus. That's one of my favorite things. That's like snacks that I would make for myself afterwards.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I wonder if the catering thing is because like like they finish work at 10 or whatever, and shows tend to go really late. I have no
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, no, for sure. You wouldn't get that, it would be closed up by the time you would be done. But I would always take a box and make a second plate. And that was my trick to being able to eat like at least a little bit healthy.
Yeah, or to keep the salad because that's gonna be fine later. Yeah, 100%. What is the most difficult trick you've ever had to learn for yourself as a dancer?
Like move.
Yeah, and like because some people, it's like when they were 8 years old, just trying to get a pirouette, and then other people was like learning aerial work, like just whatever that one thing was that like you had to work really hard to get.
I mean, for me, like it's not dance, but learning the dolly stilts was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life and the scariest because you do fall. Like, you had to learn that like in rehearsals, I did fall at one point and they caught me before I hit the ground, but you're really high up. And it's one thing to have stilts where it's just your legs because you can catch yourself or roll properly, but this you're attached with your arms too. So if you go down, and you got a big costume on you as well. Like there's no way to stop yourself.
I
So I
didn't
think
even
that was the toughest thing.
think of that. So you have like long pieces of wood-ish plastic, who knows what it's made of, and it's like how high is it? Like the size of it's more than a person. So
Yes,
like
way
maybe
more than a
12
person.
feet or so.
Something, yeah.
And it's in your front and your back, and they're strapped to your wrist.
Yeah, I mean, you're holding on and there's like a strap around your wrist.
You
Yeah.
can't just let go anyways.
Yeah.
And then if you fall, you're like boom,
Yeah.
kind of like an elephant or something going down.
So I never ended up doing that in the show, thank goodness, because I was so scared and I didn't want to do that. But just even doing the rehearsals and training in it was like slightly mortifying for me.
Yeah, never underestimate the fear of like you won't fail because you're so afraid. That's a totally normal thing. Okay, if you had to have another job outside of the entertainment business, you couldn't be in the entertainment business. What job would you have?
So I had never had any other passions beyond dance, but now I finally have found something that interests me for the
Congratulations.
first time in my life. Yeah.
I got some cheers for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So it's been like scary for me because I am getting towards the end of my dance career and I have been thinking about what else I want to do. And the one thing that I found that's been exciting for me recently is skincare, as silly as that is.
No, it's not silly at all. I have so many questions. This is great.
Like my new obsession and hobby. And I've actually like started doing videos of it on this new app called Prism Pop. And so they pay me to do my little skincare videos. And I'm interested in it. Like I might consider getting my esthetician's license at some point, but it's been like the first thing that I'm actually interested in.
What
Besides,
is the website again? Just say it
it's,
one more time.
it's a new app and it's called Prism Pop. And it's got like lifestyle stuff, fashion, health, food, but it's like you create videos on there and you can watch other people's videos. It's like a mix of Instagram and Pinterest, I'd say. It's like kind of educational and fun.
And then you post videos where you are telling people how to wash their face.
I'll tell them about like the products that work for me and the different tricks and tips that I've learned for my own self along the way. I'll talk about things like, sunscreen and the different skincare tools that I've found that I'll use at home.
Really important for dancers too, though, I think, because like, okay, growing up as a dancer, I'm not the best. I wash my face. I'm not dirty, but I also like don't know what the basics are. And I remember when I first started, it was like they put so much makeup on your face in these shows because they need it to last for 2 or 3 hours, right? And they're spraying like a set. You basically have like a cake on your face. And so you can develop bad skin with the lights alone, like not even just the makeup. There's so much SUV, like there's so much going on. So what would you say as a, like, let's say I'm either a competitive dancer or I have a lot of recitals or I'm in the entertainment business completely. What's the first thing you do when you're done a show?
So what I have now learned, and I wish I had known it back then, because I would just take like a makeup wipe and slap it all over my face and think that my face was clean, and it wasn't. And I would get breakouts. You know, you're doing your like full stage makeup and reapplying, like you said, for as over my sweat. Like my skin got really awful, especially when I was touring or when I was on like a consistent TV show where they're doing my makeup every day.
And that's
And
something
it was
people don't know either. They put makeup. Okay, so you have makeup on, then you're doing a show, and in between shots, they put more makeup on, and you are sweaty, and it is gross, and it's the last thing you want. You're like, oh, but they have to do it, and so it's like, it's just a part of it where you just more on more on more.
Yeah. So I think for me, the best thing that I've learned is double cleansing. So after to take off your makeup, first use an oil-based cleanser. And then after that, wash your face again with a water-based cleanser because you don't realize how much stuff is still on your face. So yeah, that's my biggest tip.
How do you know something's a water-based cleanser? I know the oil-based ones because they come in like a weirder texture.
It's
And
more a gel or a cream. Something that's like gel or cream is usually water based. And you can look up on it. But yeah, an oil based first and then your water based one.
and then you just do lotion after, right? Or what?
I mean, I do a million different things, but as long as you're, you know, hydrating your skin well with, I usually use like a hyaluronic acid serum or something, and then putting on your moisturizer to lock it in, you know, then you're pretty good.
What's this serum thing? The hydrolyte. I'm the worst at this.
Hyaluronic acid, it's a humectant. It draws water to it. It's basically what makes your skin look really nice and plump. And you want to put that onto damp skin. So that's like one of my favorite products that you can use. Anything that has, it's a, you know, really trendy right
Are you
now.
comfortable with saying a brand or no?
Yeah. One of the brands that I really love is called Timeless Skincare. They have incredible serums. And why I love them is because they're like really pure, really clean, but then they're also really affordable. So it's, and they also do sales all the time, like 50% off sales, like 5 or 6 times a year. So if
I'm going to buy one today after this.
yeah,
So.
look into their stuff is amazing.
And then this is like a great topic on, okay, so you had an amazing dance career, which we're not done about talking about, but you do feel like there is an end to a dance career, right? Because some people literally do it forever. And then some people like to stop. I stopped. Everybody has their own ebbs and flows. Like I was in a Uber recently and the guy was like, why'd you stop dancing? I don't know how we got onto talking about it. And I was like, because I'm 38 and I'm old. And he was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, because his wife still teaches dancing and things like that. But I think it's a difference between being a teacher and being a dancer as well. Because being a teacher, you do get to sit down sometimes or have an assistant. But being a dancer, you can't tag in somebody else to do all the stuff for you. Also, flying is exhausting, like traveling, all of that. It wears on your body.
Of course. And you just feel different after a certain point, you know? And I'm still not done by any means, but like my body feels it after an 8-hour day on a non-sprung dance floor, you know? Like it's just a different ball game. And then also if you still want to be competing for jobs the same way, you know? Like I don't think that at a certain point I'm going to want to be hustling and competing with 18-year-olds to book a job. You know, that's just the reality of it.
And the things kids can do now is crazy. Like the amount of like martial arts and gymnastics that has been introduced into the dance world is crazy.
Yeah, it's on a whole nother level. I can't do a single one of those things, you know? So yeah, the competition just gets fiercer and fiercer because the skill level is getting higher and higher as the art and sport develops, you know?
Right. But also to the same extent, a lot of those dancers who have all of these tricks don't know how to dance, which is a big thing. That is why people who are a little older, not old, book jobs over younger people because they have one facials, like storyline experience. That's also something that's very important, like how your face reads to the story, but then just how to move, like, and it doesn't mean like a trick. It doesn't mean kick your leg, bend your back or whatever. Just like legit regular dance move. Because you're doing something similar to that artist. And let's face it, those artists have spent their whole lives learning how to sing. I don't got time to take gymnastics on top of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't.
and they're not looking for that, like you said. Like it's wonderful to be able to do tricks and things to help get your attention in an audition and hopefully book it. But I would say style and performance quality over everything, like that engages someone and makes you want to book them, in my opinion, most of the time over tricks.
And do you also think that picking up choreography fast is a good thing as well?
Oh, 1,000,000%. And that is a muscle in itself, like being able to develop that part of your brain. Because I'm not that quick. Like it really has been something that I've had to really work on. And I find that the second that I stop training that muscle to be able to learn quickly, it goes away very quickly. Like that's something that you really have to be able to work on and be able to reverse things very quickly. Like you have to be able to make changes and adapt like in a flash.
That was so I'm dyslexic, and I'd always be like to dancers, like, "Oh, don't worry. When they ask you to do it on the left, I already have. Like, it's so much easier when they're like, "Can you flip that?" I'm like, "It was the first way I did it. All right, no problem." Uh,
Wow, that's incredible. How dealing with that as a professional dancer. That's
I think it's easier. I really legit think it's a. I don't, and a lot of people think dyslexia is a negative thing, but in the dance world, I think it's helpful. I think it's actually a positive
so
because you've been doing it your whole life. You don't know anything different,
yeah,
so that skill like makes it so much easier to reverse,
yeah.
which is
So
cool. It's cool.
yeah.
So okay, you're deciding to slowly, eventually, not now. You're looking at the fact that you will not be a dancer for forever, which is something I don't think a lot of people think about. They think I just am going to be a dancer and I'm going to make millions. No, you're not. Sorry. Someone might. But the odds of making millions as a dancer is not likely.
No, yeah, it's a very small handful of people that are really, getting to that kind of a level with it for sure. And I think it is important to, at least think about other options, because there is an end to it eventually, like it's a physical job. So at some point your body will say no, or you won't want to do that to your body at some point. And I was one of those people, I never thought about anything beyond dance. It was always my one passion, the one thing that I wanted to go for. So yeah, I really would suggest people to at least keep your mind open to other passions, other things that light your fire in the same way.
And you could
And
have an injury.
yeah. Oh, and you never know when it's going to end. It might not be on your own terms. It might be at any moment, So, but what is interesting is that dancers learn so many skills that can be applied to so many other jobs.
Mhm.
So I think like even when you're on set, look at the lighting designer, look at, the director. There's so many different things that we've learned from just being on sets and being in these work environments that you can apply to other things. So be curious and be open to other opportunities.
And save your money.
Save your money. I
Save
wish
some
I
of it.
had done that back in the
Me
day
too.
more, Yeah,
Oh,
save your money.
yeah, when I was little, I spent it all on candy.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 10 years old though. I was like, Mom, why didn't you put some of that away? She was like, well, you wanted it. All right, that's fair. Okay, so you did the Bieber tour, right? That
Yeah.
was how long?
That was like another 2 years, maybe 2.5 years.
Oh, that's a long tour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, here's another question and you've danced with different artists, so I'm not just applying to Bieber. I'm just talking in general. Do you as a dancer get to be friends with the singer? Because I don't know if people I think kids like think that a lot, where they are like, "Oh, are you best friends with blank because you are their backup dancer?"
Yeah, and I mean, it has depended on the person. I've had different experiences. I've definitely made really great relationships with people, but in my mind, I've always tried to remind myself like the work aspect because you're always working for this person. So there's a very fine line in how you need to act with them. And I think that you can be friends to a certain degree, but you always have to keep things at a safe work distance because you know you can cross a line. Like what if you said the wrong thing or upset them in some kind of way? All it is this and you're gone.
They're your
So
boss. They're the owner of the company because it's their brand. And
yeah.
that's something I think people forget too. Because, like, a lot of jobs, if you mess up, you're fired. like if you make a mistake too many times. And it's not mean. It's, hey, this is going to be a live show and I have my name attached to it, whoever the singer is, and I'm my brand. You're not the one paying all of the legal fees. There's so much money that goes into shows that people don't even think about. That like there's replaceable people. Everyone's replaceable too.
Of course. Yeah. So I was always really aware of that. I would have good relationships with the artists I would work for, but I was always very conscious of the way I conducted myself with them.
And then with the Bieber tour, how long is a day? Like, what's a typical after you've learned the choreo, or how long does it take to learn a choreography for a 2-year international tour?
I mean, I'm trying to even remember, but it would have been like at least 3-4 months that we worked on building the show.
Okay.
So it was a long time
And that's
spending.
all in one city that first few months?
Yeah, for us it was. For Bieber, we stayed in Los Angeles and we had like production rehearsals in Long Beach, which was like a couple hours away, but we were mainly here the whole time
And you
learning and
got to go to your house at night and stuff like that? Okay.
yeah, I was able to go home. But I do know that some artists will do their production rehearsals in different cities for cost reasons or whatever. But yeah, for us it was that where we could go home and
And
have
then
that.
you're on tour. What is the typical work week? Like how many hours are you working?
So for someone like him, they were trying to jam in as many shows as possible. So sometimes it would be like upward of 5 shows a week while traveling the night of. Like after you perform a show, you get in the bus and then you're in the next city the next morning to do another show. Or you hop on a plane at 4 a.m. and then you're in the next city and you're doing another show that next night. So it's like a really grueling, difficult thing. And then on top of that, I was seeing the world for the first time. So I would want to wake up and explore as well. So, it was very taxing and very exhausting, but fun.
But yeah, of course, you're going to see these cities you never, maybe will never go back to, just in case. And then, so let's say it's a Thursday and you have a show, right? What time are you getting at the theater before the show starts? So, like, let's say the show starts at 8 or something like that.
Okay, so if it was like an 8 for me, we would be doing our own hair and makeup. So for me, that would take me like 2 hours to do the stage makeup plus the hair that I would
Even
want to
for
do.
Bieber, you did your own hair and makeup.
Yes. In my experience, I've done that with every artist that I've worked for.
But I think people think when you're with somebody famous like that you sit in a chair and someone is doing everything for you.
And I mean, that is the case for like, I know J-Lo did that for her dancers. Like it's a very rare thing. And then for like TV or film special performances, they would have that for us. But for a tour, typically you're doing your own stuff, which is another skill for you to, work on because you're the one that's presenting yourself and putting yourself out there. So with him, it was cool because we could decide whatever we wanted to do with our hair and makeup. We didn't have a specific look. So I would, change my look every other night,
but he wasn't like your hair has to be this way.
Yeah. But with some people, they want like a very specific show look, which is understandable. But this was kind of fun. We had freedom. So I would play and, wear blue lipstick one night and like space buns, like whatever I was feeling I could do, which was cool. So I would spend like 2 hours on hair and makeup and then probably like an hour getting myself ready for the show, like stretching. I would do a workout before, like light cardio to get my heart going, stretch, abs, all that kind of stuff.
And then the show starts and then it finishes at like what time?
Like a couple hour show, I would say, hour and a half, 2 hour show.
And then you're riding this high and you can't go to bed right after.
Yeah, so it ruins your sleep schedule. And you're not necessarily comfortable. Like for me, a tour bus is not the best place to sleep. So, it would be hard for me to sleep with the movement and people up talking. And, there's just so many things that go into the lifestyle that you don't even think about unless you're in it.
Exactly. I think people just see it on Instagram and they're like, oh, that's all it is. It's not that people often forget the prep work behind everything.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, and how difficult of a lifestyle it can be. It's incredible, but it's also a really tiring, tough thing as well.
And you dance for J-Lo too, right?
I've done a couple things with her, just like a American Idol TV show and a music video with her.
Just American Idol, you might have heard it,
Just I didn't work long term with her.
I'm kidding. So after Bieber, what dancer or performer were you working with?
Then I was doing like, a bunch of random things. But then I started with Britney Spears. I had done her Work music video, and I did that while I was on break from Bieber. I was still on tour with him. And then they started her Las Vegas residency while I was still with him. I really wanted to audition for that, but I was still committed to that other tour. But after they had done 2 years of Britney's Las Vegas residency, they needed 2 new dancers to fill people's spots. So I got to audition for that, and I finished doing her Las Vegas residency with her, and I did a couple of tours with Britney.
That's so you auditioned when there was only 2 spots left.
Yeah.
And you probably had to be a similar height to whoever it was.
Yeah, I actually was much shorter, and I wore sneakers that had a little like hidden platform so that they would think that I was the right height.
That's good. That's a good tactic for people who are trying to figure it out. How did you know what height you had to be? Was that in the breakdown?
I actually knew the girl that they were replacing. She's a friend of mine. So so I know her height, and Britney's also, I know that she's like a little bit taller than I am. So I knew that like as tall as I could make myself seem would be better.
And then okay, so what's it like going into a show that's already done?
That was a little wild because they only allotted us like 4 days to learn like 26 numbers.
Wow.
So I had to learn the entire show, much quicker than what the original cast would have done. They would have spent like months and months again building the show and learning everything, whereas we had to learn it like very, very quickly and just be slotted into the show. So that's a whole different ball game to have to deal with. It was a really tough week. And then after that, it was so much fun.
I believe it. And then you're also going into a group of dancers who have already established a friendship, a bond. It's like high school going into a new school for the first time or something like that, where you're like,
of course,
please like
you don't know how you're going to mesh and how your personality is going to be. So again, luckily I had a couple of people that I was friends with already on the cast. So that kind of helped ease tensions for myself. And I ended up like, we all were a family and we all fell in love, and it was an incredible group to work with. But again, personality and meshing with the group really matters in these situations when you're spending years together, like you said, traveling and working together.
And her Vegas residency, because she's super famous as well. So like, but she was older at this time, and she had experience with fans and like what to avoid or move on from. So what did you feel like as a dancer is the biggest difference from like people knocking on your bus to this Britney tour? Because she has got loyal fans.
Of course. Her fans were completely different as well. They were so sweet to us as well. They would, write us messages and stuff, but it was a different group. It was an older fan base. Mm-hmm. So I think that maybe there was like a little more respect of privacy and stuff there. And I think they were less concerned with us as well. They were like just die hard about Britney, which was so sweet. But with her, what was really neat was that because she's older, it was like our schedule was much easier. We were only doing 3 shows a week maximum. Even when we toured, our schedule was so light. We had so much free time whenever we were traveling. It was, just like a much more civilized kind of situation.
And I think pop stars have that problem. When they first get into it, their people make them do more than they can do. And it ruins their voice and it ruins all this stuff, but they're green and they're willing to do it. And same as a dancer, you were new to dance. Touring, of course you're going to do everything, right? Then you get a little older, she has kids. Like obviously you have different lifestyle choices in what you need to accomplish in your day.
Yes, completely.
And then I have so like I've danced with some famous people where like when you do get to go places, they pay for everything, or you get to experience things that you wouldn't have normally gotten to experience in your day-to-day life, right? Like just food or like secret backdoor like things that you're like, I've lived in this town forever and didn't know that this was a club. I thought it was a warehouse. Like things like that where it's only certain people who are cool get to know. Did you have any of those experiences with anybody?
Oh, for sure. Like I think one cool thing I remember was with Bieber was that we got to like shut down a zoo and go to the zoo by ourselves and have this like private tour with the animals. Like Or we did like a movie theater and they shut down the whole movie theater for him, and we were able to just like watch a movie with just us in the theater and get unlimited snacks and things like that. Just like, yeah, some cool things that you kind of get to live the celebrity lifestyle without having to deal with all the difficult things that they have to deal with as well, you know?
And did Britney go to different cities than Bieber for the most part on your tour with her?
We did a lot of the same cities as well. Yeah, mostly there was only like one place I hadn't been with him that I had gone with her. So it was mostly the same big city places.
And is it usually typically the same venue? Obviously, the stage is different because they create a show. So that's also something people don't realize. They build a stage, they put fire, explosions and waterfalls and like all of those things. So it's different. It's made for each individual singer. But typically it's at the same location, right?
Often, yeah, with this scale of an artist, it was often the same arenas or venues. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has to fit the same amount of people.
Yeah.
And then were you typically in the same hotel? Did you, or
Um,
were you on the bus the whole time?
we would, with both of these artists, we were lucky and we would get hotel rooms as well. And we would, with Justin, they would often separate us from him so that I think it was also to like divert the fans to a different
Smart.
place. They were really trying to keep him, as protected as possible. But yeah, I would sometimes stay at the same hotels and sometimes not.
That's really cool. So after Britney, then are you still touring or do you decide just to do commercial type dance?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot more television stuff recently. I was like assistant choreographing on the Masked Singer show for the last 4 seasons. And then
And
they
what
just,
does that mean? So an assistant choreographer means there is a choreographer, but you are giving suggestions, or are you doing
yeah,
all
yeah.
the work? What is that to someone who doesn't know what the assistant does?
So for that show in particular and with the people that I was working with, it was, giving them moves, especially for me, it was like male choreographers. So I would give especially more like the female perspective of movement for things. For that show as well, it's also learning the artist track. Like we would be the stand-in for the artist. So you would learn that and help teach the artist their track, and also at the same time learn all of the dancers tracks and their spacing and stuff so that you're able to help with notes. And
And
then
what
we
is a
were the,
track to anybody who doesn't
oh,
know
a
what a track?
track is their movement throughout the entire song. So it's the exact dance steps and it's also where they're traveling in relation to the stage.
So if you're a singer, it's so like if I'm singing with more than one singer, it's that one person's song. So it's just that one person's movement to that dance.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then in addition to that, we would also be the link from the creative director in terms of what corrections they wanted changed for specifically the dancers. We would make those changes for the creative director.
And you
While,
have to choreograph for someone who's not a dancer,
yes,
which is a skill on its own. Like people, you have to make someone look like they've done something their whole life when they've done it for a week.
exactly. And then on top of that, with that show, they have like all these crazy costumes. So they can't see half the time and their movements restricted. So it's also, being able to navigate that with them and make them look the best as possible with those circumstances.
And that's, I think people don't realize there's choreographers for almost everything. Like Eminem has a choreographer who does teach him to walk from one side of the stage to the other and like do his arm things. There are possible situations where he just does. That's the other thing is the famous person can be like, no, we're going to do this. So that also does happen. But there is a choreographer behind everything, even if you're like, that doesn't look like dance. It is.
Yeah. And there's an art to being able to do that kind of choreography. Like such a fan of the people that do like comedic choreography, like someone like a Catherine Burns who does like a lot of like comedy shows,
Mhm.
and it's not even like necessarily the craziest moves, but like to be able to make someone look funny and dance is like such a cool thing as well. And I really admire that and think that's such a neat path for people to do as well.
Yeah, I think is. I mean, I'm obviously a fan of it. I use it all the time. um, so now you've been working on the Masked Singer for 4 years, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What would your goals in the dance world be if you could have a dream job?
So I still would love to do one more tour if I can in
Mhm.
my career. I would love to tour with a Latin artist because I haven't done like a big tour with one, and I just again like love so much of that music. So that's something I still would love to do.
Who in
I would.
specific? Maybe they're listening and we can get you a job.
I mean, I love Louis Fonsi and I love J Balvin. There's yeah a bunch of them that I love. Anyone I would be really happy with, honestly.
Everybody, her Instagram again will be in the
But yeah, so I would love to do that still. I would love to do more commercials and I've done movies, but I would love to do like long-term movie film project as a dancer is like a dream of mine still.
So like a La La Land type thing.
Like even longer that because those people would have been hired for like a scene. Like I would love to do like a dance movie where like you're in the whole film as a dancer. You're filming for like over a year or a year even, like something like that would be a dream for me.
Very, very cool. So you want to be in the next like step up,
We'll do
whatever
step
those are.
and then I mean anything that has like yeah a long-term project that I could be dancing in for film.
Very cool. And do you like want to be a choreographer for those things as well as a dancer, or just
It's funny because I used to think that, and I still am a choreographer. Like I've choreographed a movie in the last year, or so I would like to still choreograph, but it's funny that as time is progressing, I'm feeling like that's not necessarily my path or my end all be all. I would love some of those opportunities, but I'm not as driven towards that.
yeah, like I have a stand up special out where I have backup dancers, and everyone's like, "You didn't choreograph it yourself?" And I was like, "That was the last thing I wanted to do. Like, I just wanted to do the show." And there were definitely like adjustments where I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
physically, I had surgery right before it." So I was like, "I can't do this." But also, like, there's something in like just, I like to do other people's dance moves
yeah,
because I like being like, "Oh, I would never have thought of that move in that spot," you know?
totally. Yes. And I really like just being a body. Like I like being present and just enjoying moving. Like there's something that I love about that.
And now what is your typical like workout? Like let's say I'm a person who wants to be a dancer. What is something that you would recommend you do at home, stretching wise or physically, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very consistent with anything in my life. Like, I really just like to do different things. It keeps me interested and excited. Yoga, I think, is one of the best things that you can do ever because it's strength and stretching, and that is something that I do like, semi-consistent in my life. But for me, it's variety. Like, I like taking all different types of dance classes. I'll like play tennis. I'll go for a run. Like, I like to mix up my workout routines because it keeps me interested and excited.
And it also keeps your body muscle. So when you do different things with your muscles, it helps them stay strong.
1000%. Yeah.
So if I were coming to an end, anything that like you have a story that you want to tell or advice randomly, this is just an open ended, it's something that
Yeah.
you didn't get to say.
I think, I guess my advice and from what I've learned from my own personal career is just if you are looking to be a professional dancer, firstly, don't be afraid to reach out to people and try and now there's social media and stuff. Like, don't be afraid to comment on the choreographer's posts. Like, put yourself out there. Like, if you go take a class, don't be ashamed to go ask the choreographer if they have any notes or suggestions for you that are going to help you, or offer yourself to be an assistant, or if ever you need a body, I would love to help you out. Just put yourself out there in every regard. Obviously, you want to do it in a respectful, um, not pushy way, but I think that it's important to really shoot your shot in this industry. Like things will pass you by, and there's so many people out there that I think it's really important to utilize your connections and really go for it. And then my other advice would be to always work on versatility. Like I think that that's been my biggest asset as a working dancer, is being able to do so many different styles of dance. I've been able to book so many different projects and try so many different things. So having versatility as a dancer just leaves you open for so many more opportunities. So just try every style. You don't have to be the best at anything, but at least like take your ballet class, try the different hip hop skills. Like there's so much out there, and just the more you know, the better and more rounded you're going to be.
Right. And now just one more thing with being like, we have a lot of international listeners. So let's say I live in another country and I do want to dance for these famous people. What would
Yeah.
your recommendation be of like, I mean, obviously, if Cirque du Soleil is there, everyone audition for that. But like, other than that, is there like another way around it? What would you recommend? I don't know. That's
I
so.
mean, I think that specifically, no, it is. I think that's great. And I think that now, again, with like social media, you have accessibility to these people that you wouldn't have had 10 years ago, like tag them in your video, do a song, do a choreography to their song. If there's a choreographer who's choreographing for that artist, look up the tutorial of one of the choreographies and learn it and tag them, like reach out in any way through the internet that you can, like even though you're far away, I think there's a lot of ways to get the attention of these people nowadays.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Deirdre, this has been so informative and so amazing. Thank you for spending your time with us. Once again, everybody, I will put everything of her information in the link. Are you teaching any classes or anything like that if someone wanted to jump on or?
Oh, I don't do any consistent classes in LA, but I do randomly teach when I travel, and I've worked on like a convention back in Canada called Shine. So I'm sure I will be teaching eventually soon, but nothing coming up.
So the best way to find out if you're available or in their town is through Instagram or your website, or what do
Yeah,
you think?
Instagram is a great way to follow me and see where I'm at and what I'm working on.
Great. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Anytime.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.